How much do you believe, 0 to 100, that vision that you hold for your office and for your business and for your life at the end of this year, how much do you believe you're actually going to manifest that? Because your answer to me has to be, I believe it 100%, Bob, with every ounce of my body.
Hello, and welcome to Build Your Remarkable Practice podcast. This podcast is dedicated to chiropractors who are in the seasons of launching and building their practice. Join myself, Dr. Lona, and my co-host, Dr. Bobby, as we have conversations each week as it relates to building the practice of your dreams. And remember, you can have a remarkable practice as part of a remarkable life, not instead of one. We're here to lead you on the way.
What's up, team? Welcome back to the Build Your Remarkable Practice podcast with the amazing Dr. Lona Cook and myself, Dr. Bobby Lajasovic. Lona, I'm stoked to be back here. Happy New Year. Happy January 2025.
It's so good to see you. Great to be in the new year with you, Bobby.
Likewise. How was the time off? Did you get a week or two off around Christmas, New Year, spend it with the family?
Yeah, we were just talking about it. Felt like we had a ton of time off just with Christmas being in the middle of the year or middle of the week, and then and New Year's too. So we were well refreshed, and we had some really big days in our practice over the last few weeks. And so that really gave us this like awareness of like how busy our days can feel and how you could repeatedly do that. Normally we'll have a patient appreciation day and you feel what that expansion feels like, but then you go back to a normal day later, and we've just had like 4 or 5 of them in a row that were just super expansive for us. So I'm like, okay, we got to squeeze the juice here,
Well, I'm glad that you started with that, because here's one thing, guys, that I want you to know. So 2025, when Lona and I were sitting and looking at the Build podcast for this year, one of the things that immediately came to our minds and one of the things that we both have on our heart is, you know what? We are committed this year to going all out 100% to supercharging your practice. And going all out means, yes, we're going to be creating content for you guys. Yes, we're going to be giving you a behind the scenes look at how we do all of it, right? But 2024, we had a great time on the Build podcast. It's grown beautifully. We have so many people that are actually downloading and reaching out to us and asking questions. And you know what? We love that team. So this year, we are going to go all out into like head down, bum up, into let's grow these offices of ours. Let's not just like get some incremental 5%, 10% growth. Like I'm talking, let's explode our offices in 2025. Let's draw a line in the sand and let's commit to absolute remarkable growth in 2025, because one thing we all know is that for a healthy chiropractic, we need more healthy chiropractic offices. And so we're committed to not just growing our offices, but growing your offices as well. And so what's on our heart when we thought, all right, what's the first episode this year that we need to record for you guys? And what's on our heart now is, what is the mindset? When we had a conversation with each other, what's the mindset to success? How do you stay playful, like Lona puts it? How do you stay positive? How do you stay charged? How do you keep your mindset right? Because we know that's the prerequisite to achieving success. And so as we started to break this down, really, we came up with what we call our 3-step process. Okay, so there's 3 steps when I examine my routine that allows me to be charged up and that allows me to translate that to runs on the board and hitting goals. There's a 3-step process to mindset success that we're going to share. So Lona, before we jump into those 3 steps and we start to unpack them, give us an insight look into, you and I speak pretty much every week, right? And then we get to teach together, we get to do live events together. And one thing that's always apparent when I come across and we have some time together is that your energy is always pretty consistent. And I know that obviously you'll have periods of challenge and periods of growth and periods of ups and downs, because that's part of being a human being. But one thing that I know you do exceptionally well, and that I see this trait amongst successful people across the board, is that you have this way of delivering this consistent energy, consistent positivity, consistent high-level healthy mindset, which I know you would say is instrumental to your success. So I'd love to hear insights into, how do you do that? How do you, get your headspace on the right level for growth, especially now seeing as we're at the start of the year?
This is like one of my favorite things to talk about, right? It's like, it's chiropractic, even though we're calling it mindset, it's tone, it's energy. And for me, it took me getting analytical about it to then really get practical and day-to-day with it. So I think on some level, it's just innately who I am, is to be like, I want to smile, I want to have a good time. And as I got deeper in chiropractic philosophy and success philosophy and understanding mindset, I also really realized, and then I'm reading my kids' books and it's saying the same thing. So we're teaching, our kids some of this too. It's just like, you have a choice, right? You have a choice of how you're going to show up. And it's funny that we're talking about this right now, because part of when I was driving into the practice after lunch, was thinking about like, okay, think about something where you don't have to try to have like great energy towards it, right? Like maybe practice doesn't feel that way for you, but like I know when I get home, like the way my kids walk through the door and they're just like excited to like either see me or I'm excited to see them and I'm giving them a big hug. And I know they're not teenagers yet, but like I want to keep that energy going. And so part of what I was thinking about was like, maybe it's possible even when they're teenagers, if I stay excited about seeing them, that they stay excited too. Like, I don't know. Parents of teenagers, you can give me the feedback there. But my 9-year-old had walked in the door and that's what made me think about it. And I was like, what if we walked into our practice every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday with that same type of energy? So whatever that is for you, where you just feel that love and that like excitement, it doesn't mean that you're not changing the dirty diapers or taking out the trash or whatever, right? But there's just this like element of just like, can I just be so grateful? I'm just so in the moment of like what's there for me. And that is a choice, right? It's a choice of where you're going to place your focus. It's a choice of knowing that there's always going to be things you could focus on that could get you down. And that's really where you birth this iteration of you that could be consistent, is in those challenges, to learn that you have a choice still in the challenge too. So when you asked me that question, Bobby, it was a lot of things that have contributed to me learning how to also cultivate this, even when I maybe don't instinctively feel like that. When my mom was dying and lots of things were happening, like I had to make a choice how I showed up at the practice to serve. But I'll tell you what, because I had made a lot of choices up until that point to show up in a certain way, when the hard stuff was happening, I'd walk through the threshold and my energy would go up, So it sets its own grid work eventually, where that's just who you are, right?
So
How about you?
I heard you say something brilliant in there, and I want to highlight that for a second. You said that you think to like a time where you feel amazing, which is like when you come home to see your boys and to see the family and how that makes you feel. Is that correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So that is actually a common trait that we both share. And just so we can put a name to that, guys, what Lona has described there is a process called anchoring, right? And so anchoring is essentially, doesn't matter what's happening right now in the present moment. So you could be listening to this on the car on the way home, on the car on the way to the office. You could be going for a run. You could be feeling amazing and energized because you're exercising. Doesn't matter what it is, right? Or how you're feeling. If you now think of a time in your life where you felt absolutely amazing, okay, Lona shared an example in her life when she comes home and sees the boys, okay? But you can associate this with anything. When is a time in your life that you felt invincible, amazing? It may have been that you just closed a massive talk. It may have been that you closed a great deal. It may be, hey, the first time that you saw your newborn, or it could be, when you got married on your wedding day. But think back to that time, because by actually thinking back to that time, it will have an impact on your present emotional state. And so that process, if you put a name to it, is the process called anchoring. And when you start to become strategic around when you anchor, for example, maybe you've got a stacked day today where there's like, whatever stacked is for you, 3 reporter findings that are coming up. Maybe it's 1 report today. Maybe it's 8 reports today, okay? Do you have a routine process around how you prepare, how you anchor for that? How do you get in the right state for that? Maybe you've got a group report tonight. Maybe you've got 5 new patients in the books this afternoon, okay? How do we get into the right state? Because I know when I look at my energetic state, my energy in the morning is a different style of energy compared to what my energy is like in the afternoon and definitely the evening. So if I'm adjusting, let's say in the afternoon leading to an evening, and I have new patients coming in, I've got to anchor myself to get into the right state, regardless of what time that person is coming in. Okay. And especially knowing that they're also going to be in a lowered state. So I have to make sure that I really bring it. So you hear that principle of anchoring that Lona described rampant across society in terms of like people who do this successfully. And so I encourage you to identify what are those anchors in your life. Where are those times that you feel amazing? Because you can bring yourself into that mindset immediately. And when you get really good at this, Lona, I'm assuming it takes you like 5 seconds probably. And you're like, back there, got it. All right, rock and roll.
Yes. And I think a lot of people have learned how to anchor in the opposite way, right? They think about all the bad stuff and then they set their anchor there, right? So that's a choice, right?
Yes, yeah. 100%. Exactly. So you asked me, what about you? I've actually got a 3-step process in how I do this. And so the 3-step process I want to unpack for you guys, because there's 3 things that I do that absolutely help me, and not only say I would help, but help me, are instrumental, pivotal, absolutely essential into getting me to show up the best version of myself as much as possible as I can, okay? But here's what I want you to do, guys. When you hear these 3 things, I don't want you just to hear them and then digest them and then you forget them. One of my challenges to you in 2025 is get into the habit that absolutely changed my life. And what that habit is writing things down. So if you hear this and you don't have a notepad around you, no problems. Pull out your phone. There's a great application on there called Notes, okay? Write it in your notes. These 3 steps, I'm going to unpack you and write them down. Maybe you're listening to this and you have your physical notepad next to you. Take the pen and nail, put the pen on the paper and write these 3 things down, because there's something visceral and real about when you hear things and write them down, and it removes you out of what I call the absorbing junkie, where you just kind of listen to things but you don't implement things. And the reason why you often don't implement it is because you don't learn the skill set needed to implement it. And the way that you learn things, guys, is by writing things down. Lona, has that been your experience with writing things down?
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
If you want to stick, write it down. There's your first lesson in 2025. In fact, it's the second one. First one was anchoring. Second one was writing things down. Believe me, it'll change your life if you do this properly. Okay, now coming back to the 3 things. Lona, you asked me. Here's what I do. I have worked out that there's this 3-step process that when I follow this, I don't know about any other way to put it other than I brainwash myself to success. Okay, this 3-step process brainwashes me towards moving towards my goals. Okay, because like you said, most people have these bad habits that they've built up, okay, that actually lead to bad outcomes. Why not just have good outcomes, have a way of brainwashing yourself to achieve the goals and success that you want in 2025 and beyond, right? It's that simple.
Yep.
So here's how Bobby brainwashes himself to hit his goals. You ready? 3-step process. And there's a level to this, guys, from 0% to 100%. And I want it to be known that I don't do this 100%, right? I am always aiming and striving for 100%, but I'm not at 100%. Okay, and here's what it is. Step number 1 is vision, which means if I was to ask you now, in fact, Lona, let's do this live with you now on the podcast, okay? 2025, we're sitting here in December, all right, and you're looking at your office, you're looking at your business, you're looking at your life. Do a business version of this, guys. Do a life version of this. And I was to say to you, give me the vision story for success of what does your office, what does your business look like in 2025? Give me some high-level points around that, Lona, what you're willing to share. Like, what does the end of 2025 look like? Maybe different to how it does now.
Okay. So we, in our main office, have a 2-doc and sometimes 3-doc schedule running at next level. So we've had like 30% growth across the board. Our retention is at the next level. So our PVA is in the 70s and consistently there with new patient action that's been through the roof as well. We have a VA that's working for us at least 20 hours a week, and we're leveraging some of our online capabilities through a VA. And our secondary practice, the school-based practice, is in a second larger school district. We have 3 doctors working full tilt there. They are also on track to see 500 to 600 a week. And I am working back to my office schedule that I was working before. So I'm seeing patients 1.5 days a week, and everybody is starting to feel like good leverage in their position because we just had massive onboard in 2024.
Okay, I love it. So what I want you guys to see that Lona's done here, she's given us a certain level of clarity of her vision. Now, if I was doing this for myself, I would sit there and that process, I would actually use probably about an hour or 2 to describe that process. So if I said, all right, Lona, you got to fill in 2 hours worth of time, you would probably go deeper and deeper and deeper with like, all right, well, let's be specific with how many new users are we seeing? Where are they coming from? How many team members do we have? The virtual CA, what specific tasks are they doing? Give us a competency checklist or the breakdown of all the tasks that the VA is doing. You know, you spoke there about DCs and multiple DCs on every single shift. Great. How many DCs exactly? On how many shifts exactly? How many are they booking across? How many are they seeing per hour? Where are they at in terms of their capacity? Are you already hiring another DC? What does your team look like? What does your sales conversion look like? Like, Lona would be forced, if I got her to do this over 2 hours, to really go nitty and gritty, all right? And
Yes.
I say a good way of, if you're doing this properly, is if I said to Lona, guys, right now, Lona, spend the next 1 hour describing to me, or even 2 hours describing to me, what does your current practice and business look like? And she could say to me, oh, current business, yeah, easy. That looks like this. Let's talk about it. Attraction looks like this. Conversion, here's what we did really well. Here's where we're smashing it. Here's where we're struggling. Here's where we're having challenges. Retention, team building. Like, she could give me a super clear current vision story of what's going on. And you should have that same level of clarity around the 2025 December vision story you should give me. Okay? So when I said there's levels about this, 0% to 100%, what Lona gave us there, I would, if I was coaching her on this, I would say, cool, Lona, great first pass. That's, I can tell, super advanced because you've done this before. I would give that like a 35%. So it sets a frame. And I'd say, all right, now to get it to 100%, I want you to give me granular detail. I'm going to sit here for the next hour and a half and just you listen. I want to be able to like see every little detail of it. And that's the level of guys that I look at when I think, all right, 100% vision story. It needs to be able to paint it like the current reality that you're currently sitting right now.
So good. So good. And also, like you said, if you can't do that for your current, like you don't know your numbers, you don't know their process, like get to work on that, right?
Yes, exactly. And there's a reason for this, guys. Remember I said Bobby's formula to brainwashing yourself to success? When you spend like that amount of time, conscious effort, sitting in the future reality of what your vision is going to look like, that goes into your subconscious mind. You're burning that into your subconscious mind. You're brainwashing yourself to seeing that. The brain's already seeing, oh, wow, this actually already exists. Can you see it?
Yes. Yes.
Great. So that's step one. I said 3-step formula. Step one is grade yourself 0 to 100%. Okay, how clear are you in the vision of 2025 December? Then move to step 2, right? And this is step 2 where some people go sideways, but most people go sideways in step 3. Ready? Step 2 is how much belief, okay, 0 to 100%, how much belief do you currently hold that you're going to achieve that? All right? And let me talk to you about an example of what I mean by this. Let's say, Lona, I want to share a hypothetical story. Somebody calls you and they say, Lona, great news. You're entitled to $50 million. And long story cut short, you get through the skepticism and it's like, it's an actual real thing. And they go, hey, just take this check to your bank and you got $50 million. Okay. And you're like, all right, this is weird. And then you take the check, you take it to your bank. The bank looks at the check. So I want you guys to visualizing this. The bank looks at the check and goes, yep, this is legit. No problem. Let me just put it through in process. Let me check. And as they're putting it into process, green light pops up and it says, cleared, check cleared $50 million. Hey, congratulations. The caveat is it's going to take 10 days for this to clear. So it'll take 10 business days before this lands into your account. But congratulations, it's the legit thing. You're going to get $50 million land in your account within the next 10 days. My question to you is, how would you be showing up over the next 10 days in your life? What energy would you be bringing to the office, to home, to life, to your family? How would you be showing up to parties, to dinners, to date nights? How would you be showing up to staff meetings, trainings, vision board meeting, right? Because that version of you that you'd be showing up with, that's the version you should be showing up with every single day anyway. Okay? So what belief do you hold that you're going to be achieving that vision that you just spent a couple of hours laying out for yourself, right? How much do you believe it? Do you like look at that and go, oh yeah, I know I wrote this down, but kind of, I don't know. And you start bringing problems like, I don't know this year, and I don't know this year, and I'm terrible with this, and I had bad experience with Facebook ads, and it doesn't work for me, and I've had bad experiences with this, right? If you're feeding your mind the negative stuff, remember, you're brainwashing yourself to failure. But if you look at that and you go, you know what, I don't necessarily have all the answers now, but I 100% with every ounce of my body believe that, yes, I'm going to manifest that, then guess what? You start again. Step 2 to Bobby's brainwashing formula to success. Your body and your DNA starts to believe that.
Yeah, I believe that. A mentor said to me at one point, why not try? Right. And that was like, again, like you can think of like, oh yeah, I'd maybe take a year off. And then it's like, you can only lay on a beach for so long. We're here to create. Right. So why wouldn't you go after it? Right.
Can I ask you, question, Lona, what's an example of something that you like love doing? Like absolutely love doing. You do it like every week or every month or on some kind of rhythmic routine basis that you love doing.
Yoga.
All right. How much do you believe in your body that December 2025, you're still going to be doing yoga?
100%.
100%. All right. Because you're like, I love it.
God willing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. God willing, right?
Yeah.
So you've been doing yoga for probably many years. Yeah,
Probably
with a physical benefit and a probably
like
emotional
10
mental
years.
benefit.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, so 10 plus years. So obviously this
Mhm.
is something that you love doing, has a huge benefit for you. So when you vision cast for 2025, you're like, yeah, I'm 100% believe that's going to be part of my life. I'm going to be doing yoga X amount of times per week, right?
But you know what I do not have a full belief in that I haven't done yet is I told myself on a vision board that I would do a handstand and I still can't do it. So I got to get that done. I'm saying it to you now. Yeah.
Is it a clean handstand or is it one of those headstands?
A clean handstand. I can do a headstand. That's all good. But yeah.
All right. Well, I'll ask you the question, Lona. How much do you believe that December 2025, okay, you're going to be executing and nailing a handstand?
I got to work on that, Bobby. I got to work on that.
Because you sat here and you said, Bob, 100%. This is so critical for me that XYZ depends on me to be able to do this handstand. Okay. I'm not allowed to practice chiropractic anymore unless I can nail this handstand by 2025 December. How hard are you going to be working to nail a handstand by 2025?
Then I do it. Yeah.
Lona, I'll put my money on you.
All right.
All right.
Yeah.
I'd be like, I'm all in. If chiropractic is at stake for her to be able to practice,
Yeah.
she's going to be nailing handstands by March.
Right. Okay, maybe I got to paint that picture that way to myself.
So that's step 2. So I ask you, right, and this is what I ask myself, guys, I am perfect at this. Remember, I don't do this at 100% either, okay? But I'm always striving for 100%. And the question I ask you is, how much do you believe, 0 to 100, that vision that you hold for your office and for your business and for your life at the end of this year, how much do you believe that you're actually going to manifest that? Because your answer to me has to be, I believe it 100%, Bob, with every ounce of my body, okay? Get out of that negative Nelly mindset of like, well, I kind of believe it, I'm looking for all the reasons why it's not going to happen, okay?
I want to just say something here. You know, we bring in chiropractic into public schools here, right? And I think this is one of the main things that sometimes I hear people like, how are you doing that, right? I'm like, we believe we could, right? We didn't believe that there was going to be a bunch of red tape around it. Like, so there's so many things that we create our own barriers to just because of what Bobby's just shown us right there. We don't believe it's actually possible for ourselves. And then therefore, you know, we can't manifest it. So like your own belief is the most critical part of anything you're creating.
Yes. Yep. Spot on. 100%. Right. And then step 3, guys, this is the one that I see people where they probably most often go sideways. Okay. Step 3 to Bobby's formula to brainwashing yourself to success is you need to connect that vision and you need to connect that belief to, ready? You should write this down, triggers. You need to connect that belief, you need to connect that vision to triggers. The reason why New Year's resolutions fail is because most people look at it once and they never revisit it again. Okay. Best practices is write down your goals every single day. Okay. The night before. And I want you to review those goals minimum 3 times per day. In the morning when you wake up, lunchtime, and then late afternoon, or whatever rhythm you want to set up for yourself. But keep your goals front of mind. Secondly, connect those goals to triggers. Things that when you do, a trigger is something that when you do, it reminds you of something. Okay. Smell can be a great trigger. Sight can be a great trigger. Actions can be a great trigger, right? Connect that to triggers. And a good trigger to connect to is when you've had times that you felt like 100%, certain. So think about, you did a workshop, you closed 25 new years, you felt invincible. I guarantee on the back of that, you felt, this is it, man. I got this nailed. Okay. You connect that feeling to triggers. And guys, you can connect that to triggers so trivial, like going to the bathroom. How many times a day do you go to the bathroom? Every time you go to the bathroom, you can connect a trigger of like, bang, remember that time when I closed 25 people and I'm handing over credit cards and they're coming in, they're transforming and getting healthier. What are my goals at the moment right now? That's right. I'm striving for whatever it is, 600 visits a week, 800, $3 million in collection, whatever it is, $1 million in collection, right? Connect that vision that you see to triggers so you have a way of regularly every single day reminding yourself of what it is that you're moving towards.
And get yourself in a place where you just love the thought of all of it, right? The more our energy is up while we're doing this like intentional work to actually think about what we want and to feel it, like we've got to be in a place where our cork is floating, and that's where the energy and the juice comes in. So it happens quicker.
Oh, yeah. Yep. 100%. Spot on, guys. And here's the thing. It's a muscle. The more you do this, the better you get at it, the easier it becomes. Okay. That's what happens. You develop areas of the brain that just start to recognize this. And so The triggers part I find is really key, because an example of triggers is vision boards. The reason why people don't do vision boards well is because they do it once and never look at it. All right. An example of a trigger is, right now.
Or don't have a feeling behind it.
Yeah, exactly right. There's no feeling behind it,
Yeah.
An example of the typical, probably most common trigger that you see, people that have pictures of their family on their work desk, or that have family on their wallpaper on their phone, right? And so it's a way that they put it there that when they turn on their phone every single time, they're like, they see it. I'm looking at my phone right now. I have a picture of my wife and me giving my daughter a kiss on her christening date, right? So when she was getting christened. And we have a trigger there. And so straight away brings you back to that day, that spot in Manly Beach. We did the christening, our closest family, right? So yeah, we want to have triggers that regularly get our brain to think back to those goals and think back to those goals with the right energy. Like, for example, the energy that I described when you just finished a workshop, you closed 25 people, or it can be anything in your life that you had a moment that you just felt right on point and right on the mark.
So good. Thank you for this, Bobby. It's a good way to start our year.
So that's Bobby's 3-step formula, brainwashing yourself to success. All right. And literally that's what you do, guys. It starts to burn into your DNA. And, I'm not the biggest science geek, but I know that there's functional MRIs and stuff that are done that shows there's cortexes and areas of the brain that expand the more that you think about things. And you guys know this as well as I do. We all study neurology. We want to focus on those areas. That's why, quite frankly, Lona, they say, when people retire, that's sometimes the highest rates of when they start to deteriorate. You start to see Alzheimer's and dementia starting to increase because they're not triggering those areas of the brain like they were when they were working, right? Why not use that science, guys, to help you achieve success? Not just this year, but, you can use that formula for whatever you want. So there you have it. 3-step formula, guys. And remember, 0 to 100%. How well are you doing it? No one is doing it 100%. I, Bobby Ilajasvik, am not doing that 100%. Okay, I want you to know that. But what percentage of the time, the second variable, variable number 3 is time. And you associate that with triggers. My bad. Okay, let me just rephrase. So variable number 1 is vision, 100% vision. Variable number 3 is belief. How much do you believe? And variable number 3 is time. What percentage of the time, do you spend in that state? And then the way that you get larger amounts of time in that state is you connect it to triggers. My bad. Make sure you rewind that. All right. Variable number 3 is time. What percentage of the time? People that don't do this well, they'll 10% of the time be in that state. People that do this super well, they're 80% of the time in that state. And the way that you increase the amount of time that you're in the state is connect that to triggers. I connect it to triggers of things that I'm doing all the time, going to the bathroom, sipping on the water on my desk. Every time I do that, bang, I go back into that state of belief and back into state of vision casting. All right. So go where you're keeping your notes and just cross out triggers and just add time. And then triggers is the key. All right. Triggers is the key to make that happen 100% of the time, or as close as possible. Love. There you go, guys. Told you, I ain't perfect. That's where it's at.
See you next time.
I had a lot of fun, team. We'll catch you next time on the Build Your Micro Practice podcast. Hey, guys, if you enjoyed this, please go on to our socials. Dr. Lona and I are both on Instagram. Add us on Instagram. That's where we share the behind-the-scenes view of our life. What are the things that we do? Take you inside of our offices, inside of our practices. How do we make our life work? How do we make our business, our practices work? So if you enjoyed this, guys, hey, add us on our Instagram socials and you'll get to see the behind-the-scenes view. Until next time, we'll see you soon.
See you back. Thanks for listening to this episode of Build Your Remarkable Practice podcast. Remember, what the world needs now is chiropractic, and what chiropractic needs now is more successful chiropractors. If you like the podcast, please subscribe, share with your friends, and leave us a review. And if you'd like to connect with us personally, please click the links in the show notes to schedule a call.